You never listen to my plays.
You got some nerve. You got balls. I'll give you that.
Go lick some Subway seats or something all year long then.
Traded here. I was a little horny.
You put me in a tough situation here.
On this offense, it's garbage. It's garbage. It's awful.
All right, guys, welcome back into H2H, the show in which Tasos and I battle it out each and every week, giving our NFL picks. I was, through 5 weeks of the season, Tasos, I was 5-0, absolutely giving it to you. And then all of a sudden, last week, now we both had a phenomenal week, but you just went sports betting and nuclear. NFL, you crushed. You went 3-1 in this show with a double down, meaning a two-unit play, and college football, you crushed as well. How does it feel to now get a win? It stinks to have, my undefeated season off the potentialities here, but I got to chalk it up to you and give it up to you. That was an amazing week.
Listen, I said it last week. Don't let me get hot. Don't let it happen.
You did say it.
Listen, it's 1 week. I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm not going to break out the crown or the money gun. On my other shows, I will. On this show, I won't. Not yet. I got to wait a little bit, but I felt good about the slate. That was the first week where I was like, I saw everything so clearly. I know I've said that a couple times, and it didn't happen.
It's true, yeah.
This past week, I was so scared because I'm like, I like a lot of favorites this week, and the favorites have not been hitting all year coming into that week. But I just I love the spot here. I love this game. I love this matchup. In the Oracle, I went 15-3. We hit the parlay plus 1193, plus 450, plus 370. It was crazy. Crazy week. On this show, I went 3-1. The only pick I lost was Keenan Allen over in yards. I missed that by 8 yards.
Yeah.
So we pretty good week, but I'm not gonna get too carried away. I am still 1-5 against you. We still got a lot of ground to make up, but it feels good to get one. It just feels good to win one.
It does. I feel like after that, the 6th week, I think you even said it last week, you were like, if this week you don't win, there's some big alarms. And you hit your double down. The first time we implemented double down this year, you put 2 units on a play for plus money. It was the teaser that you did, and you cashed that one. So like I said, I gotta give you your flowers when they're due. That was a great week. I put forth I went 3-1 in the show as well, and you still won. So how can I be upset at that type of thing? You know what I mean? You won that. I didn't lose the week. You won that. So kudos to you for sure.
Yeah, listen, and somebody actually mentioned in a comment, it was actually pretty funny. I was sick all last week. I got super sick. And if you've watched the show, I have the worst immune system. I get sick 5 times a year. I got sick and somebody commented once Tasso gets sick, he usually comes back strong. And I was sick all last week and I crushed it. I was thinking back to him, you know what? Baseball, I was sick at one point in the summertime. Legit had the best week of the year. So I just had to get sick, I guess. I just had to sacrifice my health for the good of the show.
Go lick some Subway seats or something all year long then. Get sick and go off. You say don't let me get hot. The new saying is going to be don't let me get sick. Don't let me get sick. But all right, guys, if you are new to the show, this is a show in which, like I said, Tasos and I battle it out, but it is not your same old, not your uncle or father's root beer type of thing, not your father's sports betting show. We spin a wheel each and every round to dictate what type of bet that we have to play with, and kind of take it from there. So we are at the mercy of the wheel. It says Thursday night football plays, spread, money line, total, that type of a thing. So Tasos, you ready to jump into it? The first wheel we'll spin is going to have our names on it, and that'll dictate who goes first.
I'm ready. You know what? The vibes couldn't be better. They could not be better going into this week. Can we get a little streak going here? Can we keep it going? Is it a 1 week occurrence or can I stay hot? We'll see.
All right, on that note, let us know in the comments, are you Team Ev or are you Team Tasos? He got sick. Maybe he gets sick again. He could take my advice, go lick some Subway seats. So let us know in the comments, Team Ev or Team Tasos. Yeah, you hope you are.
Not 100% healed, so a little cough.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. Whoever this wheel lands on, we'll spin it now, is going to go first. Snake draft after that.
I got to give you credit, though. Even I was watching the games, and I'm like, you've had a great season. Even though I won this week, you still went 3, and the only pick you lost was the pick I forced you.
Yeah, the fade me round.
You've been hot this year. Well, I can't deny it.
Look at us just, lathering each other up here. But all right, I'm
no did.
I'm starting us off here. I'm going first. We'll spin the second wheel now. Tasos, I hate to say this. Maybe I'm playing mind games, maybe I'm being honest. this board is like looking through a cloudy window to me this week. I'm not loving it. So we'll see what we get. It really doesn't matter if it's player prop spread, money line, plus money play. Like I'm not exactly loving what we have. So just FYI, you might have an upper hand.
So what concerned me about this week, and somebody mentioned it like in the comments, where like, oh, you're due to go to 211 now, 2-11 now. The problem is that all the favorites hit last week. Yeah. There's no way the public won big last week, like in the sports books, like public won huge.
Yep.
It's concerning because again this week I like a lot of the favorites, but it's not going to happen again. So now you got to be a little more cautious going into this week because Vegas is hurting after last week. They want to make some money back.
Yeah, those lines are going to be sharp this week. Like even if it looks kind of weird, it could be a little trap action. But let's spin it here. Honestly, I'll use your line. The world's my oyster, the wheel's my oyster, because I don't really care what I get here.
Well, it's more like you're scared of most of everything. True. Not really the world's your oyster, but okay.
All right.
Thursday Night Football.
Thursday Night Football. All right. I don't necessarily mind that.
Horrible game.
Not gonna lie. Yeah, I was gonna say, looking at it for my obviously Thursday Night Football video and whatnot, I don't love the game. I'm gonna actually look at a player prop here. You can get it on MGM. It looks like for 1 yard less, which is nice to see. Player prop. I'm looking at the quarterback of the Broncos, and it's not what you think it is or anything like that. I like his longest rush over 10.5 yards, -120. He's done it in 5 or 6 games this year. This is a guy that obviously can move, but what I'm more concerned with, I don't think he's going to pass the ball all that well against a decent pass defense in the New Orleans Saints here. They have a bad run defense. I could see him sort of having some space back in the pocket, doing what he did a decent amount last week, and running the ball. Now, his rushing yards was at 24.5. I consider that. He ran for 60-plus yards last week against a good Chargers defense. But longest rush, I could see him having one play where he gets scrambled, jumping out and running for 11 yards. Now, some of the numbers that help this one would be sacks. Denver's great at defending. 4th fewest sacks this year. QB hits, top 10. QB hurries, 4th worst team. So guys are getting to the quarterback, making them hurry. They're not altering them. They're not hitting them. They're not, pressuring them. But if they get to him, I think he's going to take off, especially after doing it so well last week. So give me one run for 11 yards, and I'm cashing this one. All right, guys, Outlier is the official sponsor of H2H for this 2024 NFL season. I just took Bo Nix over 10.5 longest rush. That line is actually moved, but I still want to show you how I found it using the Outlier tool. Now, before we even get into that, guys, you can find Outlier's link in the pinned comment and in the description. And with that link, you're going to get 7 days free. Even after that, it's under $20 per month. So you start cashing a few bets with this bad boy, it's going to pay for itself. But we're here on the player prop screen. We have it filtered to Bo Nix over longest rush. You can see it right there. And you can see his last 5, 2024. Obviously, if he was a player that had been in the league multiple years, you can go last 10 head to head, last year, but he only has 6 games under his belt. Now, this line has moved to 11.5. Still don't mind it for plus money now, right? But we got it at 10.5. You could see 23, 13. You can see his last 6 games here, or last 5, however you want. You can look at his rushing attempts per game, his rushing yards after contact, all that good stuff. But the thing that I called out, well, one, the line has moved. You can see line movement for player props, which not a lot of places have, right? You can literally see it like this. But what I called out is the fact that this Denver offense, you can see the rankings per team. 4th in sacks, 10th in QB hits, but they do struggle in terms of the quarterback getting hurried. And the Saints, it's actually the only thing that they're good at, hurrying the quarterback. So I do think Bo Nix is going to take off. If you're on here, you can see which sportsbooks it's available. Say you're on DraftKings, even though I'd always recommend the best odds. You could say, hey, okay, let's pull up DraftKings. You could scan it with your phone, or you can continue in browser. And this is going to put the play in your pick slip. You do not even have to go digging for it. If I was logged in, I could place it like that. So go ahead and check out Outlier, guys. Again, 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment and in the description, and it's super cheap after that. For all you're getting, especially heading into the NBA season, all you're getting with this tool, it is super, super, super priced cheaply. So go ahead and check it out, guys. Again, that is Outlier. Link in the pinned comment for a 7-day free trial.
All right, I'm gonna put my hand up here, and this is typical me from last year. I didn't hear who you said. Who is the
Bo Nix?
Okay,
over 10.5 for his longest rush. There we go. We're right back to last year. That's not a good thing, because that means you're going to get hot. You never listen to my plays. But all right, Bo Nix over 10.5.
Can I be honest? There was a play last week too where I think it was your first play. It was the Charbonnet one. I didn't know what you said. Wasn't
and
listening.
You're just like, oh, it's a good pick.
I took a guess. I was like, yeah, and then like as I'm going, like you said his name, like, okay, he's talking about Charbonnet. Look, he's actually been running the ball pretty well. And obviously this Broncos offense has not been good this year. The
Right.
one, I guess, bright spot has been the fact that Bo Nix has been able to take off a little bit here and there. I don't really know how to think about it because the Saints' run defense is not very good. They are bottom 12 in run defense, 20th right now. Versus quarterbacks, they're okay. Yeah, I can't really go against the pick mainly because I just don't know what to. The Saints' defense on paper looks like a good matchup because
and
not a
it's
very
an
good
obscure
pass
one,
rush.
right? It's obscure. It's like a one
Obscure,
rush
but
longest yard.
the Saints don't really have a good pass rush. I mean, they're tied for 16th in sacks, tied for 23rd in quarterback hits. They are high, like you said, they're high in quarterback hurries, which typically is a good thing
Take
for
off,
your
right?
pick because
Yep.
especially these younger quarterbacks, I feel like they're very fidgety. Especially Bo Nix, like his first instinct isn't to throw; it's let me get the hell out of here and run.
Yep.
So not a bad play. I don't really personally, I probably wouldn't touch it personally, but I can't really poke a hole in it.
Right. It's not, I feel like I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I said, things looking cloudy. I wouldn't sit here and tell you I love this pick. I do really like it. And I think it's hard to look at the other side of it. So that makes me feel even better. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to be like, no, he's not going to rush for 10.5 yards on one run.
Yeah, like I said, he has. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he cashed it pretty consistently this year.
Five of 6 this year.
Yeah.
He's running 6.5 times per game too. So we might, you know what I mean? Like I might get 6+ chances at it.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Well, and like I said, he's been. Like I said, I didn't have the numbers on top of my head, but from the eye test, watching him this year, he takes off a lot. I mean, he's been running the ball pretty well too with some success. So, like I said, can't hate on the pick. Can't really poke any holes in it. Really.
All right. What are you looking at for Thursday?
It's risky, but I'm gonna go and take the Broncos here, -2.5 in this matchup. I just, Sean Payton revenge game. And that may not mean much, but obviously his first time returning to New Orleans since leaving the Saints. The Saints, I'll give them credit. They played better than I thought last week. Versus the Bucks. I mean, they did get blown. They gave up 51 points. But, like, there was a while there where they were hanging around. Like, the game was pretty tight until about the third, fourth quarter. Then Tampa Bay really they forced Baker Mayfield to throw 3 interceptions.
Yep.
They played without your starting quarterback as well as you could for as long as they could until the doors just finally broke off. I just don't like the Saints right now. I think Spencer Rattler, this Broncos defense has been unbelievable. Now, to be fair, against my pick, Pat Surtain's out with a concussion. That's obviously huge. I just think that this Broncos defense, even without Surtain, really, really strong. And you're going against a rookie quarterback and Spencer Rattler, who he looked pretty good. But remember, the Bucs defense has not been the best so far this year. Their secondary, they've had some issues. So he looked decent against Tampa. I don't know if that'll be the same story here. The Broncos are a much better defensive team. So I'm going to go with the Sean Payton revenge game. I'm going to go Broncos here, -2.5. I think they have enough. And the Saints defense has been pretty unimpressive. Bo Nix, not whether it be on the ground like with your prop or through the air, I think the Broncos offense should be able to at least move the ball a little bit. Again, the Saints just gave up 51 points to the Bucs. Denver's defense has been anemic at times, but this Saints defense is bad enough where I think Denver should be able to have just enough success with their, combining that with their defense. Denver should be able to win this game by 3.
So I probably would say if I were to take this one, which again, I'm not sure if I'm jumping on the Saints side, I think I'd be on the opposite side.
Okay.
Barring a few different things. There's so many injuries on the Saints side of things. Obviously, Carr, right? But Kamara, Olave, I don't think that they practice.
Olave's out. He's got a concussion, so Olave's not going to play.
I think he's still same with Surtain. I think Surtain's still questionable.
But when they're in the concussion protocol, I just assume they're going to be out.
And when they don't practice, you know what I mean? Like when you don't practice. So exactly, right? Barring some injuries, but what I will say is that even if the Saints can put up like 20 plus or something, the one thing I would say is can Denver, you know what I mean? Like that would be my reason and call for concern of that team because that offense is terrible. I think that the Denver Broncos have a good defense. I can probably say that the Saints have been through a harder schedule, right? I mean, actually, definitely, they've kind of been through a weird gauntlet, to be completely honest, if you look at the teams they've played. But to me, this is like the type of game where 2.5 points, maybe if you get it to 3 or 3.5 with buying some points, I think this is a close, messy game that there might even be some more offensive talent on the Saints side of things. So like I said, if I were to bet this, and even in my Thursday Night Football video, it's a messy game. You know what I mean? Like it's not a lock either way. But I don't know if I want to put the ball in Bo Nix's hands.
Where I get concerned in this game for the Saints side of things is that Yeah, Derek Carr is obviously the injury that most people talk about, and obviously now Olave concussed and everything. What
That
concerns
offensive
me the
line.
most is that offensive line. I mean, it's
Yeah.
bad. And they're already. I see a bunch like Eric McCoy. They're starting out. Like they got Ryan Ramczyk out. Like they got a
Yep.
lot of guys, and then even like look at Rashid Shaheed questionable with a knee injury. Like their receiving core is banged up. But the main thing for me is that offensive line. Like that's a major. It's been a major problem for the past couple of weeks. It's what got Derek Carr honestly hurt. Was
Mm-hmm.
that offensive line was not good. They didn't have a great offensive line to begin with, and then you took away the best parts of it. You're going up against the Broncos pass rush that is really solid. They're fourth in sacks, 1.5 sacks per game, tied for 10th in quarterback hits. Now, they're not actually hurrying the quarterback a lot, just tied for 28th. But you're going against a rookie quarterback in Rattler who, again, he looked okay last week, but this Broncos pass rush can get to him. And even if Surtain doesn't play, the secondary beyond just Surtain is pretty solid overall. Actually, I actually was reading the wrong numbers. They're actually better. The numbers were actually better. Third in sacks, fourth in QB hits. They're actually eight QB hits a game. Tied for 13 in QB hurries. Tied for sixth in tackles for loss. Tied for second in yards per play allowed, 4.4 yards. I mean, the only area where they're not great is their run defense is 14th, but you got Kamara banged up and the offensive line dinged up. This defense across the board is just top 10 in so many categories. The most efficient in the red zone, fourth scoring. It's really hard for me to go ahead and bet against this Broncos team, especially, again, if Derek Carr's playing, I think I would definitely ride Saints, but you got the Sean Payton factor going up against his former team. You got the Broncos here. I just think the Broncos -2.5. I don't love it, but I like it.
All right, fair enough. I think we're both kind of in the like zone. We got friend zoned by our picks, but we still like hanging out. So, all right, fair enough. Let's go ahead and jump into round number 2. You are starting us off here. Anything on the board look appetizing to you? Thursday Night Football's off the board now because there was only one slice.
Thank God. That's what I will say is thank God. Because if we had to take if it was a couple weeks ago where we had to take multiple picks,
Yeah.
I have maybe one more play in that game, and I still don't love that. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that's off. Honestly, not to be cliche and just to copy myself, but I honestly there's a lot that I like this week. I like the board a lot, so I'm not anything I get thrown at me. I'm happy to take it.
All right, let's spin this one. A lot of pause in this video.
That didn't come out great.
Total.
Okay. Couple
what do we got?
ways I could go with this. There's one that I was definitely looking at targeting. I'm gonna go ahead and rock with. Oh, actually, that's a little high for my blood, a little rich for my taste. Oh,
I only have one. If you take it, I'm gonna be a little shaking in my boots here. So I only have one.
I'm gonna go with this one here. I wish good tease. You know what? I'm gonna go back to the well.
Oh no!
I'm gonna go back to it because of the two totals I really like, but just a little high. So I'm gonna go with two team teaser with the overs. I'm gonna go with the Panthers Commanders over, which is 51.5. We'll do a 6-point tease, so I'll take it down to 45.5. And then I also like the Falcons Seahawks over 50.5. We'll do 6-point. That'll take it down to 44.5. Excuse me. So Falcons Seahawks over 44.5. And then Panthers Commanders over 45.5 with the tease. I'm not going to double down on this one.
Okay.
But that's my two team, Jesus Christ, getting tongue twisted here. 2-team teaser for the total.
I don't think I mind that one there. I will say you're gonna get the nickname the Big T's if you just keep throwing these out there and cashing. And it ain't the worst nickname in the world. So I can't really knock it. You have two really high totals with obviously not the most defensive games here, and some of the better offenses, I guess, in a sense too, right? And like you're teasing it down to a more manageable line. Like it seems like it could, if this hits, could be a strategy, but I have nothing negative to say about it. Like that line is 6 points higher for a reason. You're taking two firepower type games with lack thereof of defense and teasing it down.
Well, that's the thing. Like you look just real quickly to go through both of them, like the Commanders and the Panthers. Again, 51.5. I like it. It's just a little too high for my liking. At 45.5, it's beautiful. It's chef's kiss. It's perfect because you got a Panthers defense that's a horrific defense. Washington should be able to score at least 28, probably more than that, but at least 28. And then Carolina, give them credit. Like with Andy Dalton in, they actually have been scoring a little bit. 20 points last week versus Atlanta. They had 24 versus the Bengals. They beat the Raiders, obviously, and scored 30 plus in that game. Like with Andy Dalton, they've actually been able to score a little bit. So with the Commanders' defense being kind of suspect, I'm hoping that if Carolina could score at least 20, I think we got a good safe bet there. And even if they score even a little bit less, I think Washington can carry the load. And that Seahawks-Falcons game, Seattle's defense the last couple of weeks has been abysmal. 36 points to the Niners last week on Thursday Night Football. 29 points to the Giants. The Giants scored 7 points against the Bengals on Sunday Night Football. They scored 29 against Seattle. So that Seahawks defense has been kind of trending in the wrong direction. Atlanta's offense going in the right direction. They've scored a lot of points. 38 versus the Panthers, 36 versus the Bucs. So they've been scoring a lot more. So you just got two things trending. And then Seattle offensively is still good enough where in that game, all I need them is like 17 points, which they should be able to do. Mm-hmm. And then Atlanta covers the rest. So, I mean, I like the lines there with the little decreased lines, 44.5 and 45.5, much more manageable. Much more manageable.
All right, fair enough. I am looking at one that I'm kind of curious where you come out here because I don't necessarily have all the numbers on my side. And this is one of those lines to me that looks a little interesting. It's the Eagles and the Giants. I'm not looking at both teams. I'm looking at the Eagles over 22.5 for their team total. They just kind of got their cast and crew back last week against Cleveland, scored 20. I don't think it was the best game. I actually liked the Eagles to score a lot of points last week, and they really didn't. But this is against a Giants team that I really don't think has a tremendous defense. They've been playing some really bad offenses that make their defense look okay. I know the Bengals just only scored 17 and whatnot, but to me, it's like a lot of teams against the Giants have been playing poorly versus the Giants making them play poorly. And you look at how the Eagles have played against the Giants when Jalen Hurts has been healthy here, and they've been kind of crushing this line. Last year, they only put up 10 points against the Giants. Marcus Mariota played most of that game, so I kind of throw that one out the window. Prior to that, 33 points, 38 points, 22, 48, 30. Like, I think that this is that divisional rivalry, and if you look at those historics, and again, I don't like to go back too far in those, 23 points doesn't seem like all that much of an upgrade over last week at 20 points when you're finally getting guys healthy. And what we saw a pretty bad game from Saquon last week, right? What if he steps up? AJ Brown, Devonta Smith keep going. Goddard, I believe, is going to be out. But to me, like getting Smith and Brown back, I don't necessarily mind Goddard being out. But yeah, Eagles over 22.5. That's minus 120, minus 125 on ESPN. Why is that?
I don't like this. I'm not even, I don't hate it in the sense where I can't see it happening. I just would not touch that team total over at all. The Giants defense.
Tasos. Doubling down on it.
Oh, boy. All right, you got some nerve. You got balls. I'll give you that. You got balls. That's crazy. You're putting double down on this Eagles offense? It's garbage. It's awful.
Not anymore. They just got their guys back.
Yeah, but they lost Jordan Mailata.
Up from, they got their skill positions back. Up from here.
They lost Dallas Goedert and Jordan Mailata.
I said Dallas Goedert doesn't bother me. I do give the offensive line a huge thing, and he not officially out, but I think he is. He's not going to play. He's not playing.
He's not going to play. Lane Johnson just came back. He's a little limp. Crazy. I don't know. I watched that, and I also took Eagles team total last week against the Browns, and I watched that game, and the fact they couldn't score more than 20 points just goes to show what this team is a struggling team. I have a team, obviously I have the Eagles and a lot of future bets. I'm not confident in those right now. This Eagles team is a little bit of a mess, specifically on the offensive side. I think Jalen Hurts really Jekyll and Hyde that first half versus Cleveland. He looked terrible. Second half was definitely better. I just wouldn't touch anything. And the Giants defense, you say it like, oh, the Bengals, they crushed Cincinnati. They crushed Cincinnati in that game. Their pass rush, that front four, they're calling it the New York Sack Exchange. They're bringing that name back for good reason. They didn't even have Kayvon Thibodeau, and they did that. And he's coming back this week. That was one of, like I said, I still think that, Bengals played poorly. That was one of their better showings of their defense. All these other teams that they've played, whether it's Cleveland or I don't know who else they play, Seattle, Dallas, like they have these names, and it's like that defense. Dallas first them. You think that was a good defensive performance, or did the Cowboys stink? I mean, it's a little bit of both, but but the thing is that you're putting the Eagles in this category like they're so much better, and I get it, the names and everything, but like Have the Eagles been that much better? The New York Giants defense, give them credit where credit's due. They've only given up more than 21 points once this year, which was back in week 1 versus Sam Darnold in Minnesota. They have consistently held teams to 20 or less in every game. The only other game, I guess, 21 versus Cleveland. No, actually,
Washington.
It was Washington 21 points. I was reading that wrong. But that's it. Besides that, I mean, 50 again, Cleveland, I get it, bad offense, 15 points, but 20 to Dallas, 20 to Seattle, 17 to Cincinnati. The Bengals scored 38 the week before versus Baltimore, and then they held them to 17. And honestly, it was a tough 17. And then look at the Eagles, like, where's their scoring coming from? They scored 20 versus Cleveland. They scored 16 versus Tampa Bay. That Bucs defense has not been good. And they only scored 16. They scored 15 on New Orleans. They scored 21 on Atlanta. The only game so far this year where they've cashed this over was week 1 versus the Packers, which was in a weird, that Mexico game. Yeah. I don't know. They've been
so banged up. Yes, they've been a mess. They're really only up from here. If you say Mailata is a massive hit, yeah, no kidding. I'm not going to say he's not, right? But getting A.J. Brown, getting Devontae Smith back, and Saquon stunk last week. Saquon can add 7 points to that score easily if he plays better, and they'd still scored 20 points. You're acting like they scored 14
last week. Yeah, but if any
week.
Team knows Saquon better, the only team that knows Saquon better than himself is the Giants. Like they know
Saquon Barkley revenge game. Let's go. Even more of a reason. You know that works more for Saquon than it does for the defense.
I guess. I think this Giants defense is no joke. This is a frisky Giants team. I don't know. I listen, anything's possible. And the Eagles, obviously, I know they have the skill position players between A.J. Brown, Devontae, but like Jalen Hurts, I mean, if you want to even go even further, and we can go further, going back to last season, this Eagles offense has not been trending in the right direction.
Yeah, since they fell off, kind of.
9 points in that playoff game. Then they had 10 points against the Giants. I mean, they had a couple of big games last year. Again, the Giants on Christmas, they scored 33 points. But the last time they played on January 7th, the Eagles scored 10 points.
What's his name? Jalen got hurt. That's when Marcus Mariota played most of the game. So I
know, but this has been a team that now since the Bucs game, the playoff game, I mean, they've only cashed that team total over once. Even going back to last year, I mean, 17 points versus Seattle. A lot of low scoring games there. I don't know.
I'm double down.
1 unit
I'm in.
Scary. To put 2 units down, I don't know.
Dropping them on the table.
And you keep saying like they haven't been healthy, but they're not healthy still. Like,
yeah, but the scorers, I'm going team total here.
Like they're not a big. Dallas Goedert's been a huge part of this team. Losing him sucks. And then Mailata is the best offensive lineman. And Lane Johnson's the second best, and Lane Johnson's dinged up. He's not 100% either.
Yeah, and Max the guys that score are back.
Yeah, but you got to get
I'm not even saying they win this game necessarily. I'm saying they can go put some points on the board.
I don't think you can bet on this. I wish there was a prop. If there was a prop for how many times Jalen Hurts gets sacked in this game, if it was over 4.5, I'd put 3 units on that. He's gonna.
I wonder if you could find that somehow. Like that seems like it should be.
This Giants defense is going to mess him up. And you got Nick Sirianni play calling. Like you're putting 2 units on Sirianni here. The guy is not good.
Oh, man, I'm excited for this one now, Tasos. I wasn't like that excited for this game, but now I'm super excited.
This Giants team's averaging 4.3 sacks per game. 4 sacks per gets the average. They've gone over that.
All right, we'll see. 2 units on it. Double down. If you guys don't know what double down means, that is what we're doing. I put 2 units on that play. So 2 units up for risk there at minus 125. All right, let's move on.
One last point, and then we'll move on. You have the 25th team in red zone efficiency in the Eagles, 44.4% hit rate in the red zone against the 6th best red zone defense. In a bet that you need to score points, even if the Eagles get in the red zone, they have not been efficient, and this Giants defense has been. They bend, but they don't break. They top 10 scoring defense. You got balls. I'll give you that. I hate this pick. Actually, you know what? At first I said I didn't hate it. I hate this pick. This pick sucks.
I thought you did hate it.
Oh, I didn't like it. And I said it. I was like, but I hate this pick. The Eagles are not a team I'd want to touch right now.
All right. We'll see. All right. I'm leading us off in this third round. Now we have 1 total off the board. There's still 1 total there. Let's go ahead and spin it. I'm kind of looking for a money line play here, I think. But like I said, I don't love anything.
Apparently, you love that pick, which was just asinine.
Oh, we got back-to-back money lines, and that is going to land on one of them. All
All
right. Well,
right.
I got what I asked for. This should, somewhat. Now it doesn't cross our rules of counter, like conflicting bets, but it is
Don't
something that
tell
we've
me.
talked about. I don't think that this would be exactly where you'd go, but it's pretty juiced. I like the Falcons here on the money line.
Oh,
Minus
okay.
155. I think that this is the type of game where, yeah, Seattle can hang in it and whatnot, but Falcons now 3 wins in a row. I think that offense is only getting better as they kind of move on. Pitts got involved more last week, which I think is actually a huge part of their team here. And minus 155, it's a lot of juice. I don't even know, to kind of give you my confidence level in this one, I don't even know if I would roll with like -3. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the better offense will prevail in a sense. And I do truly think that that is Atlanta. Both defenses are shaky. And if it's going to be a shootout between Kirk Cousins and Geno Smith, I'll take Kirk Cousins. But the rest of the cast, like Kenneth Walker and Bijan, I can see some comparisons there. DK, Drake London, like the receivers, I can see where Seattle has some advantages. But again, just putting the ball in one of those two QBs' hands, I'd pick Cousins.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go Eagles here. I thought you were going to say Eagles money line. Like, are you crazy?
No,
Just put
no.
everything on the Eagles, huh? Yeah, I have nothing to say against this one. This is a good pick. This is now the Seahawks. The one big advantage is they're coming off the bye week, so they had an
Yep.
extra week to prep for this game. But Atlanta, I think everybody was a little low on them early in the year, and rightfully so. I mean, they had a little bit of a slow start out the gates, but to be fair, you had Cousins coming off an Achilles tear, new team, everything. You're starting to see them kind of gel now, and it takes time for that chemistry to build. Atlanta's a good team. They're a really good team. They're dangerous. Seattle, they had a 3-0 start, but if you really look at how that 3-0 start it was more about who they were playing more than it was how good they are. Like, they played Bo Nix in his first start. They played the
Yeah.
Patriots, and they played Miami their first game without Tua. Since then, they're 0-3 with some embarrassing losses in there. I just don't like Seattle at this point. I think their defense is a lot of work. Their offense, for all the weapons they have, for having DK and having Lockett and Jackson Smith and Kenneth Walker, their offense is very inconsistent. And I don't know if it's a Geno Smith thing. I don't know if it's an offensive play caller thing. I don't like Seattle much. I know the line is at plus. I probably would take Atlanta, maybe 2.5. I went on 3. I think, I mean, not terrible, but I think Atlanta should roll here. Honestly, I think it's a bad matchup for Seattle.
Yeah, and Seattle, they played last week, Thursday Night Football, San Fran and Seattle. So they're not coming off I think their buys, I don't know which week, but either way, they've lost 3 straight games. And again, if this does come down to it, it's a close spread for a reason, but this may be one of those money line plays that seems a little fishy today, in this week. But really, to me, it is just Kirk Cousins and Geno Smith comes down to that. So I like that spot. And honestly, like you could make some arguments that this Atlanta defense in the last 3 or 4 games has been better. Some of the defensive numbers, kind of like you alluded to, this year look good for Seattle, but cupcake schedule. So yeah, I like Atlanta in this one. The only negative, and I'm sure you can agree with it as a sports bettor, minus 155, hell of a lot of juice there.
Yeah, I did say bye week. I meant like they had a long week.
Yeah,
they
have the rest advantage for sure.
Yeah, and the big thing here, though, and that's the dangerous thing, is that Seattle's strength offensively this year has been their passing offense. They're actually the best passing team in terms of passing yards. They're like 276.7. The Falcons' strength defensively is their passing yards defense, top 10. This secondary's got a lot of weapons. I mean, they got a really good team. I think their pass rush is still a work in progress, but to their benefit, you have an Seahawks offensive line that's kind of a mess. They're bottom 5 in like every key offensive line. Like, they give up a ton of sacks. They give up a lot of QB hits. The third most QB hits, 7 QB hits a game they're giving up. So, like, if there's any game for the Falcons to figure out their pass rush, this is it. And, look at this. The Seahawks, where the Falcons' weaknesses on defense is their run defense.
Yep.
The Seahawks are one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL right now. So, where Seattle has an advantage, they don't really have any advantages. Where Seattle's strong, Atlanta's strong. Where Seattle's weak, Atlanta's also weak. But Atlanta, this defense has a lot of names, and I think it's really solid. Again, it's another situation where they added some guys late. Matthew Judon, they traded for right before the start of the year.
Yep.
They added Justin Simmons right before the start of the year. Still taking some time to gel, but I think this Falcons team on both sides of the ball, very, very solid. I just don't like the matchup for Seattle at all here.
Yeah, and just Simmons, I think, was listed earlier, like yesterday, as questionable. I think he's still listed as questionable, but the head coach said he's going to play. So He should be good to go
But
too.
I mean, they have Jesse Bates. I mean, they've
Yeah,
got.
oh yeah,
AJ
I'm just
Terrell.
saying that that is one of their
loaded.
that's one of their bigger names, one of the better. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he should play, so it's not even like a loss there. All right, what do you got money line wise?
Money line, I'm targeting that Super Bowl rematch, and you know what? I'm a glutton for punishment. I had a lot of money on the Niners last year in the Super Bowl, but I'm going to ride them again. I'm going Niners money line here against the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs, they are coming up. Now, this team is actually coming off the bye week. I can't confirm that. They are coming off the bye week. Kansas City's got issues, and I think that matchup where they beat the Saints on Monday Night Football was more about New Orleans and their problems than it is Kansas City. I still don't know what the Chiefs' offense is going to look like here. I mean, no Rashee Rice, no Hollywood Brown, no Pacheco. You know, your Travis Kelce looked good against the Saints. They still have Juju Smith-Schuster, but like if Juju and Travis Kelce are your top two, little shaky there. And the Niners, they've obviously had a little bit of a slow start to the season, but they did have that big Thursday Night Football win versus Seattle. So for them, they're not coming off a bye week, but kind of the same thing as Seattle. They've had a long week, a little extra rest, a little extra time to prep for this game. I think you have to be, if you're the Niners, fired up for this one. You've now lost to them in the Super Bowl 2 times. This is obviously a rivalry that's been pretty one-sided. The Chiefs have dominated the rivalry thus far. Yep. If you're the Niners, you got to come in, and you're at home too in San Francisco. You got to be fired up for this one. Everybody on that Niners team should want to kill the Chiefs here, and I think the Chiefs, yes, they're 5-0, but they're a very flawed 5-0. They've got a lot of injuries, a lot of key injuries. I just don't see how they move the ball enough in this game. Now, be fair, Mahomes is Mahomes, and whenever he's on the field, anything can happen. But I like the Niners in this spot here.
Yeah, this is I agree with you. So it sounds like we're both kind of aligned with our money line plays. This should, in theory, when you think about it, based on who's owned the matchup and the record, you should be looking at this being like, well, like, shouldn't the Chiefs be favored? Now, they are in San Francisco. I get that. But the fact that the Niners are favored, even if it's just by, a point, tells me a lot about what the odds makers are thinking in this one. And even if this comes down to the ground game, like both offensively and defensively, that's going to be San Francisco's game to lose in a sense. Now, I think Jordan Mason, right, he went out of Thursday night.
Yeah, it
seemed like he was okay. Like he I think they tried to bring him back in and then took him out again. So it can't be that bad that they were like, oh, broken collarbone or something, right? So he might be okay, but I don't even know if that matters. Like that, I forget the guy's name, like Guerrero or whatever, comes in and he even has that long run at the end of the game. Like this is just a team in which I'm not saying that Christian McCaffrey isn't filthy, but this could be like a system running back team that anyone goes in there and looks good. And even if you wanted to make the case, oh, well, Jordan Mason could be out, Isaiah Pacheco's out, and Kareem Hunt is good. Steele's okay, but like it's still they still lack at running back just as much if that's the case.
Well, it's the Shanahan thing. It's the Shanahan magic. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they do. It's just even his dad was the same way. Like they could put you and me out there, and you know what? We'll give him 50 rushing yards and 11 carries. I don't know how, but we'll give him 50 yards and 11 carries. You know what I mean? That's just what they do. They can take anybody and turn him into a solid running back. The one thing I will say, though, and where I like the matchup, the Chiefs' defense, which overall has been pretty good, the one area where they're a little concerning is their pass rush. Not very good this year. Tied for 25th in sacks, tied for 21st. They're not forcing a lot of turnovers either. Mm-hmm. They are giving up a lot of QB hits, a lot of QB hurries, and stuff like that, but not sacking a lot and not forcing a ton of turnovers. The key thing for me, though, is that their pass defense this year has kind of been a little shaky. 20th right now in passing yards, allowed 217 yards per game. The Niners have the second best passing attack in the NFL right now, 262 yards per game. Brock Purdy has been dealing this year.
Filthy.
That's something that I think he could attack. And again, that extra motivation, that Super Bowl was close. I mean, that was a close game. It was a coin flip game, went to overtime and everything. So I think the Chiefs' injuries right now are, and again, the Niners have their own injuries, but I think the Chiefs are so significant on offense. The Niners at least still have Ayuk. They still have Kittle. They still have Debo. They still have, you know what I mean? Like where the Chiefs, you got like Juju Smith-Schuster's your wide receiver 1, and if not him, it's rookie Xavier Worthy. A lot of questionable pieces. It's the Saints and the Niners is a big difference in competition. I do think the Niners, it'll be close. It's going to be a really close game, but I think the Niners have a little momentum off that Thursday Night Football win. I think the Niners will edge this one out here.
Yeah, I can't disagree. So I do like that one. All right, we're going to move into the fade me round here. Really the segment that kind of, like I said, not your father's average sports betting show. This is another kind of unique twist that we have. Guys, what the fade me round is, it's going to be just like we had in the beginning of the show. We spin a wheel. It's going to land on either my name, Ev, or Tasos' name, Tasso. And then whoever that lands on gets to make a pick across the board. And then whoever or whatever you pick, the other person has to fade and do the opposite. This worked out beautifully for Tasos last week. He took San Francisco Thursday night -2.5, and they beat the Seahawks by a bunch. And that was a loss for me, win for him. So, Tasos, you want this one?
I do. I have a pretty good pick for this one.
All right, let's spin it.
I got a pretty good pick. I was going to use it earlier. I saved it for this, hoping I'd get it. Let's see. Oh, keep going a little bit more, a little bit more.
Oh, my goodness.
A little bit more. Yes.
All right, you get it. That was, I think we had a really close one last week, too. That was the most entertaining part of the show. That was exhilarating. Oh, all right.
All right. I'm going this one. It's kind of a slap in the face, too, because it kind of goes off a pick that you actually won last week.
Okay.
I'm going with the London game, Pats Jaguars. I'm going with the over here, 42.5.
Wow.
Overall total. These teams have obviously two of the worst teams in football right now, 1 and 5, but I feel like we're going to get a lot of points in this game. A lot of points. The London unders, like last week, I think was what, 4? It was last week there was actually a lot of points scored. The Bears scored 35. The week before that was only 40 points. This Jaguars defense is horrific. And listen, maybe Drake May, maybe he doesn't do the same thing he did last week, but we were both Pats fans. Not to be a little X-rated here. I was a little horny watching that game. Drake May, that touchdown pass he threw to Kayshon Boutte, oh my God! Like I have not been that excited
you would call him Booty after saying you're horny.
I know. Like I said, horny. I was horny watching that game. I haven't been that excited watching Pats football in a long time, and
I agree.
And their offense is only, and Drake May is only going to get better. That Texans pass rush, and we talked about it last week. One of the reasons I didn't like your pick at the time was I thought that Drake May would get killed, and to be fair, he did actually get hit a lot. But the Jaguars' defense is way worse, way worse. And my thought process is this: if the Patriots can score 21 points on the Texans, they can definitely do it again versus the Jaguars. They should score at least 21 points, 20 points in that ballpark, right? Yep. The Patriots defense, which normally is really good, actually been pretty bad. Like 41 points to the Texans last week. The Niners scored a lot on us. The Jets scored a pretty decent amount. My thought process is this: the Jaguars should at least be able to score 24 points. The Patriots should be able to at least score 20, 21. The total is 42.5.
Yep.
If this game is 27-21, we're good to go. And that's not that high. And that's not that crazy. I mean, the Jaguars, they haven't been great, but they scored 16 last week against the Bears defense. I just think that these are both bad defenses, both shaky offenses, but they're just good enough that they should be able to score some points here. I would rather ride the over than ride the under in this one. And that's why I'm giving it to you, the under.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of put that well because you put me in a tough situation here because I want Drake May, and I know Drake May is going to have probably, I was going to say the best game of his career. No, I mean, hopefully, against the literally defensive DVOA ranking 32nd team in the league passing-wise, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's such a tough situation now that I'm going to be watching that game, drinking early on a Sunday, not wanting the Patriots now score points. What I will say is, and it's kind of a loophole here, give me like a 41-0 win for the Patriots, and I'm walking out of here feeling pretty damn good. So now I just have to root for Jacksonville to absolutely stink. But like you mentioned, this Patriots defense is not this is not like the best thing about the Patriots defense is that they have the rep of the Patriots defense. They stink defensively too. So I'm in a tough spot here. I hate having the other side of it. I am kind of shocked that you're so, I guess, confident in taking it. But as I think about it more, why do I hate the other side so much? Because
I love it so much, I'm going to double down on it.
Oh, 2 double downs, 1 video. Now, for everyone watching, double downs in the fade me round, I don't have to put 2 units on the other side. I wonder if we should discuss that, before next. I'm not going to do it this one, but if I'm allowed to then double down on my side, we should discuss that. But so Tasos has 2 units on the over here. I have 1 on the under. It's going to be some math after this week because we got a lot going on. But yeah, I hate my side, and the more I think about it, the more I hate it, which is never the good place to be in.
The one, and I'm not gonna lie and say I'm not scared at all because I could definitely see me being so confident in this game is like 10-7 because these are 2 bad teams. But just from everything we've seen so far this year, it's hard for me not to go ahead and take the over here. I'm trying to look what the public betting is. No, obviously, excuse me, still a little sick here. Um,
I got it right here. So,
it's no, it,
ooh,
public is all over the over here. To be fair, though, and this is the benefit of doing this show when we do it, this line's going to jump.
yeah,
This line is definitely going to jump before Sunday. So if you can actually, when this finishes recording, I'm going to throw a pretty healthy wager on this actually right now before the line moves. Again, like I said, I don't know how you watched these two teams so far this year and think that this game's going to go under this. I mean, I understand it if you're thinking about the Pats pre-Drake. If this was Jacoby Brissett, I would
yeah,
not touch the over.
yeah. I
But
gotcha.
Drake May, with how he played last, and that's the Texans defense, much better defense. The Jaguars, like I said, 27-21. Not crazy. Even 24-21. Not crazy. That's all it takes. It's a pretty low total, I think. I think people are cautious with the Patriots here because obviously it's one game with Drake May. And I think they're obviously cautious with Jacksonville because his offense hasn't been good. So I think the market's a little cautious with this game. I think, and actually from a data standpoint, the Patriots have covered this in their last 10 games at a 60% hit rate, and the Jaguars at a 50% hit rate going to the last 10 games. So,
Oh
I mean,
boy.
and then so far in 2024, the Patriots 50-50 just over at 42.5, and the Jaguars 67%. So the data actually backs it up as well,
Yeah.
where like these teams have been covering the over at a pretty decent rate this year. The Jaguars 4 straight games, part of that because their defense sucks.
Yep.
And then the Patriots, they've covered it in kind of every other week pattern, but I just think Drake May should be able to do enough. This Jaguars defense makes every quarterback look good. The last couple games, I mean, 35 points to Chicago, 34 points to Indianapolis, 20 points to Houston, or 24 points to Houston, excuse me. 47 to the Bills. I mean, they teams have been scoring on them pretty consistently. So
Yep.
I think New England should be able to do the same.
All right, yeah, that's like I said, you hit at least a little bit of gold with a fade me pick when the other person just like despises having their side. Like last week, I had the Seahawks plus 2.5. If you watched my Thursday Night Football video, like I was all over the 49ers. So it's like it's tough to be put in that situation. I think you did it here again this week, so we shall see. But yeah, any last words, any updates you gotta give the people out here because we've got a lot of new viewers and stuff, and I love the interaction. So actually, first we'll say that if you made it this far in the video, let's go ahead and comment 45. I'm not exactly how sure after we edit this that where you are, but comment 45 if you made it this far in the video. But Tasos, any words for the people watching, because you've turned some, and I asked this question because you've turned some haters in the right direction here, like or wrong direction, but right direction for you. Some people didn't like you, and I don't see many hate comments anymore. Have you won some people over?
My favorite one was last week when the guy commented on the Oracle and was like, "You're going to lose 85% of these picks," and literally it was like 87.9% of the picks actually hit. So
Yeah.
listen, all it takes is one win is all it takes to get people back on board. For people who are watching this show, I know so far this year you're like, "Oh, this guy sucks." Last year, and Ev, we talked about it. I mean, last year I was on a heater. I feel I don't want to jinx it. I feel like it's coming. I feel like I'm more than due. I had 5 really bad weeks of betting. It's only right that I now have a little bit of a hot streak here. But I love that fade me pick so much, and to show the people here how much I like it. If the over hits, if you comment Tasso down below, I'll give a $25 gift card, Amazon gift card, to one person who comments down below Tasso. So if it hits, I'll pick one of you guys to give a gift card away. I love the pick so much that if I win, I want the people to be able to celebrate with me. So we'll do a little giveaway here.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay, I like that. Go ahead and comment Tassos down below. If that hits, Tasso will be giving away a little gift card there. Now I like kind of want the pick to hit too. Like you're really messing with my brain here.
I just want to see a sea of Tasso in the comments. It's been due. I see a lot of Ev every week.
Oh,
Time for a little name change in the comments.
But all right, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for week number 7 of H2H. We'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.